Introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number.
James Rowell, 363824.
All right, and you have counsel with you this morning. We'd like counsel. Will you introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Anna Friedberg, and I have the honor of representing Mr. Rowell today.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Rowell, the way this is going to work, I'll read the allegations against you. After each allegation, you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then Mrs. Ledoux will be asking, she'll take the lead on asking you some questions. If there are no other follow-up questions, we'll ask you if there's a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to Ms. Friedberg for her presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
I do see we have a couple of speakers. Do y'all have the list? At the appropriate time, we'll allow those who've indicated they'd like to speak to do so. You can see them on the screen. I don't have their names yet, but it's coming. So you are accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 4. And it says you failed to refrain from engaging in criminal activity as illustrated by your arrest by probation and parole on August 8, 2022, and you were charged with possession of a firearm or weapon by a felon, illegal carrying of a weapon with a controlled dangerous substance, possession with intent to distribute marijuana, possession with intent to distribute Suboxone, and possession with intent to distribute MDMA. On December 12, 2023, the jury found all charges to be not guilty. How do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Okay. Then we have condition number 5, which states you fail to refrain from not having in your possession or control any firearms or dangerous weapons as illustrated by your arrest by probation and parole on August 8, 2022, and charged with possession of a firearm or weapon by a felon and illegal carrying of a weapon with a controlled dangerous substance. How do you plead to violating condition number 5?
Not guilty.
And lastly, there is condition number 10, and it states you failed to keep your supervision fees with the state of Louisiana current, and you're currently in arrears $2,205. How do you plead to violating number 10?
Not guilty.
Okay. Would you answer Mrs. Ledoux's questions, please?
Good morning, Mr. Rowell. I don't know if it's morning or not. No, it's afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you were on were paroled in 2018, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the address that you supplied to your parole officer when you were on the street?
It was Crowder. I don't remember the exact. It was on Crowder.
And then you changed it. I saw in the notes where you changed that address. And what address did you change it?
I had changed it to 4501 Wilson Avenue, and I made a change after that as well.
Did you report that to your probation officer?
Yes, ma'am. I had did it on 2 separate occasions. She told me that the office was flooded and she wasn't able to do it at that particular time. That was the first time I had tried to switch the address. The second time was I had contacted her. We met at a location that she had said, and I was being stalked by somebody, and I made a police report. So she was like, well, just call the police. And she made me download Google Duo. My lawyer should have the police report that she told me to make. And like, I feared for my life. Like, I was in tears telling her that I didn't want to be nowhere around that area because I have to pick my daughter up right around the corner from there. Like, I have the actual video of being followed and everything. Like, all that's in the police report. The police have all that.
Okay, so when you talk about she, the parole officer,
that's Mrs. Son.
And Son?
Yes. She had gotten my case. I was on parole with a Mr. Garrett.
Right.
And she took his caseloads over. But I had explained this to her, is in the record, and like the video, the police report, everything.
Okay, so I have no record of you changing your address in the dialogue that we got from the probation officer, which causes a problem in the situation because when she told you, if you're telling me correctly, she said, meet me at your home, and you went to Wilson Street. Is that correct?
Yeah, she didn't call me, she called my fiance.
Apologies.
Like, yes, my lawyer also have the actual cell phone records. Like, it was no call ever to me. I gave up my location. I gave up all my phone records to the court and everything.
But you reported to 4501 Wilson Street.
Yes, she told me to meet her. She said meet her at the Wilson address. I met her at the Wilson address. I've never entered the house. They have video footage of that and everything.
Why would she tell you to go to the Wilson address if she knew that you had a different address? What was this address you were living with?
The address I was living there was a Nighthawk address. Is 4435 Nighthawk.
Okay, so that address does not appear anywhere in my record.
Yes.
And so
all right.
Let me speak for a moment, please. I'm reading from the narrative. Alicia Bruno called and asked about lifting the hold, told her it wasn't happening. We were the ones that made the arrest. She claimed subject moved from that residence about a year prior and only went to the address of record that morning because Agent Sun said to be home at that address. But if she knew that you were not living at that address, why would she tell you to go to that address?
I think the DEA wanted access to that particular house, and they used Mrs. Sunup to be able to access that house. That's also, they also have, like, my lawyer have the footage and everything else of the DEA and them going in the house, turning the cameras down. I was never in the house. I pulled up to the house. I called Mrs. Sun. I'm like, you told me to meet you here. I'm like, I have to pick my daughter up. I'm like, if you're not gonna, come soon, do I have enough time to pick her up and go grab a coffee? She like, no, she's I'm right around the corner. So I waited because I was asked to wait. And in the process of me waiting, she pulled up. Right before she pulled up, my sister asked me, she was like, I'm gonna back it up. She called Felicia. I'm asleep. Felicia woke me up. She's like, hey, your PO called. She's like, can you need to contact her? So I'm like, all right, I called her. She said, meet me at the Wilson address. And even during the trial, the DEA and Mrs. Sun, she admitted that when they passed the house, my car wasn't there. That was the reason for her calling Felicia, and she didn't call me. Like, my lawyer also have the records of that. Once I arrived, I waited a few minutes, probably about 3-4 minutes. So what I did was I called Mrs. Sun. I'm like, Mrs. Sun, I'm here. I'm like, it's getting kind of late. I bring my daughter to school every morning. Do I have enough time to go grab her, get a coffee? I'm like, her school's around the corner. I can drop off. I'll be right back here. She's like, well, no, I'm around the corner. She like, wait. So as she said that, my sister came to the door. She was like, what you doing here? I'm like, hey, my PO told me to meet her at this address. She
And
was like,
the last time you had been at that address? How often did you go to 4501 Wilson where your sister lived?
I used to visit my sister at one time kind of regularly. I had stopped going like 6 months in advance. That's around the time of the police report. I got into an accident, and like my sister had cameras like all around the house and throughout the house. But the person I had the accident with was showing up there stalking. So I'm like, my sister like, hey, that truck that you was in an accident with, I saw that truck, and she replayed the camera. So I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. So my daughter's school is like directly around the corner. So I'm picking her up. Like, I have this on video. I'm actually recording the person following me. So I'm like, my daughter's in a car, and he followed me a long, long way. So what I did was I contacted his son. I'm like, can you please meet me? I'm like, I really need to meet you. I'm like, I'm not trying to get in any type of trouble or nothing. I'm like, I'm like, I've never given you problem. Like, this is like, this guy is following me. I'm like, and like, I'm in tears, like literally, I'm like, I'm not trying to get in trouble. She like, well, all right, well, just meet me here. So I met her like further up the street from the house. Like, we met in an open lot. And she was like, I explained to her, I showed her, I'm like, look, here's my phone. I'm like, I can get my sister to send the other thing to you, but this is the man right here following me. She like, well, oh my God. She like, what you need to do is call the police and make a report. So she like, well, you still at Felicia's? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what this guy, what he's trying to do. So she's like, well, just call the police and keep me informed and let me know what's going on. So I called the police. I made a report. They came to the house. They came to me and Felicia's resident. He took my statement. He was like, man, I've never saw that. Even my attorney, my civil attorney, he even reached out. He was like, man, I've never saw nobody really stalk somebody after an accident. So I'm like, yeah, I told him, like, I explained it in my PO. I'm like, what I'm going to do is I just have my sister to like grab my daughter since my niece goes to the school and just meet me like away. I'm like, I ain't trying to get in trouble. He knows my car. Like, everybody know I drive the Genesis. So I'm like, all right. So I did that and I just stayed away.
Okay, so your sister, you asked this question. I mean, it was obvious that there was guns and drugs in your sister's home. If you had been living there and the same activity was going on with drugs and guns, then you were a felon in the presence of guns and drugs.
Ma'am, I've never been in the present. Like, some people moved. My sister had people that she rented to the room to prior to me leaving. I was going there for a very extended period of time. Like, I've never been involved in no type of criminal activity. I've never even had a tech. Like, my other PO been in the house and when I was staying there numerous of times, like even during trial, Miss Sun said herself, like, hey, this guy's one of the most respectful people. She even told me, like, she came visit me and she was like, hey, I'm like, this have nothing to do with me. I'm like, my sister's getting with the people. They're gonna come down here. They're gonna sign the affidavits and everything else. She was like, well, all right, just let me know and I help you out. And she doesn't work there no more.
I see the letters of these people indicating that it was their pills and drugs. They ever get arrested?
I don't know. I just know some people that was in one. I know one of the guys in the room is, I think two of them went to jail. I know another one, I think he's deceased or something. Like, I don't really know them like that well enough. My sister probably can inform you more on it. Like, all I could tell you is basically what happened with me, ma'am. I honestly, like,
you don't know these people. These were not
no, I don't know. And one of the guys, come to find out, he was on one of the men that came there. He was actually a parolee of his. Like, I was the only one. It was like 7 or 8 people. They pulled out the house. Like, they went in there. I'm the only one they brought to jail. And I'm asking her, I'm like, why? Like, why is this here? I'm like, I have no knowledge of nothing that's going on in there. She was like, because I only could take you to jail because you're the one on parole, nobody else there. So I'm like, well, how is that even like possible not to arrest nobody else?
Let me ask you a question. When they went to the house and you were outside, did you ever enter the house with them?
No, ma'am.
Inside the house while they were doing the search?
I never entered.
The police asked someone in the house, which one was your bedroom? And they said, into the hall on the left. And that's information.
That's another question that came out at trial. They asked, it was my sister, they was asked what room that he stayed in during the time he was living there. She was like, well, he haven't lived here in a minute. But it was like, well, what room? She was like, the room is being rented to somebody, but he stayed in the back bedroom, I think, on the left.
That's what I read.
Yeah,
were you ever reprimanded while you were on this period of supervision?
No, ma'am. I've never had a tech. I've never failed the drug test. I don't use drugs. I don't drink. Like,
okay. I bring that up is because you are a 4th felony offender. I mean, excuse me, a 2nd class offender. So you have been on probation or parole before and completed it?
I was on probation and parole. I was 16 years old. I had a charge, and they even tried to bring that charge up. It was like, he's on parole for armed robbery. I was on parole at 16. I even have the ARPs that I wrote. They dated, signed. They in the Department of Correction. Like, I've been finished with that charge and everything. So I'm not on paper for no type of violent crime or felony. I'm not on like for armed robbery or nothing.
Right. Okay, so Mr. Rowell, at this time, I'm gonna ask if my colleagues have any further questions.
I got one quick question. I noticed that you had some paperwork under the mattress.
They said that like the cameras, my lawyer and she have the video of it. They said they found a piece of paperwork in the cameras. Like I don't know why the DEA wanted access to the house. They went in there and turned the cameras down. I haven't been there. It was and come to find out in trial, it was like a old paperwork dated, I think, and I want to say it was dated from something dealing with like in Slidell. It was old.
All right, point blank, give us the truth, man. When's the last time you stayed at that house?
The last time I stayed at that house, sir, it been a long time. Like
Okay,
it been over.
Ever seen you at another
Before,
house?
I'm talking about due to August the 8th of 2022, I would have to say it was like literally between 13 months to 10 months, if even that. Like I'm talking, I haven't been in that house, sir. I promise you that.
Real quick, did the officer ever come see you at another house where you stayed after you left that residence?
She had the address. Something happened with the office. She told me to flood it out. I don't really know, like
And it does flood a lot back then.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened with it. So when I had explained to her with it, because I came to her and I was like, hey, I'm staying. All she asked was for the address. She asked for my fiance full name. She even asked for the license plate at one time. She talking to like numerous of my managers, bosses, and everything. Like
I got what I needed. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
so,
And I am aware that you had all stood before a jury and they found you not guilty. So I am aware of the legal.
Yeah. I had it was just not the jury. I had like some of the charges was with the judge too, where I had like the judge.
Right. Ms. Traub found not guilty. Let's go ahead and hear from who first? Your mother or who's that?
Yeah, sister.
Sister. Okay.
Ms. Rowell, Yolanda?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. Would you, what would you like us to know?
I can clarify a little bit of the with the people staying in my house. I did rent out 2 rooms in my home to people. He was not staying there. He had not been staying there, like he said, because of the auto accident that he got into, and his PO was aware. I don't understand what's really going on. His parole, he's been on parole for a long time. It was when he was young and, has completely changed his life around. He held down a job, and in the process of all of this happening, we were in talks of starting our LLC, getting a business going. So I just don't want him to be dinged for something that was going on in my space that he had nothing, nothing to do with.
To go in the other one, to jump to the other one, to jump out the other one, to jump out the other one, and the leg, get to jump out the leg, dig down.
Felicia?
You gonna be tired, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is there, wait, hold on. Mr. Rowell, is there a door open behind you or something? We get a lot of feedback.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
I think I'll come a little bit. Y'all can bring it down a little bit, please. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, Miss Bruno?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. So yes, just to clarify everything that he stated, he has been living with me over a year. He probably moved in of like April of 2021. We got engaged of December of 21. So yes, he was living with me up until the time of the arrest. it was very strange the morning of the arrest that his PO didn't even call him first. She actually called me. I never knew the number, so I just missed the call because it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And then once I missed the call, she actually texted me. And I looked at the text. She said, hi, Felicia, this is PO and son, I'm looking for James. So at that moment, I woke him up. I said, your PO is texting me, looking for you. Why is she calling and texting me? He said he don't have a clue. So at that point, he did call her to see what she needed and what she wanted. And she asked him to meet her at that address. I'm really confused today as the day of that happened, why he was arrested. We all confused with what happened. When he pulled up and they searched him and his car, they never found anything in his possession on his personal space. Like Ms. Yolanda said, the room that was found had other adults in it that day of the arrest. I think 2 of the guys that they found sleeping that morning was the guys who actually say the items was theirs. So, you know, I did call her that evening, his PO, to see what was going on and why he was arrested and why the hold was on. She said she couldn't take the hold off and he has to just go through the process. And I'm like, I'm not understanding why he's been arrested. It was nothing in his possession. So yes, I feel like it's been 19 months he's been away from his family. He's been innocent. He's been proven innocence in the court system by the jury and a judge. And he's been away from his family, missing everything. And he's a great father. He's a great stepfather to my kids. The kids ask when he's coming home every day. And it's just been a long nightmare roller coaster for him. And he's very innocent. So I really appreciate if you all would just find him not guilty, because like I said, none of this was his and he hasn't been living there in over a year. I'm not sure why she didn't change the address. And I really don't know why she called me that morning, you know, looking for him. She never even called him.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bruno. We appreciate your input. I don't see any other questions. So, Mr. Rowell, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we turn it over to Ms. Freeberg?
Well, like I truly miss my kids, my fiance, and my family. Like I pray by the grace of God that the board find me not guilty. Like I have no knowledge or involvement in any type of criminal activities. Like I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Like I really work and spend time with my family. Like the people they pulled, they had like 3 people staying in that room. Like they got camera footage of all this here. Like I could see if I was guilty, like, yeah, like, but it's so much stuff going on. Like I'm 45. Like my grandmother have had a stroke. Like my fiance just had 2 major surgeries. Like I have a son that just dropped out of college. He's dealing with depression about me being in here. My daughter's going through all kind of stuff. I'm innocent. Can you please take in consideration of what my family's telling y'all and what my lawyer's about to tell y'all? She have the proof, the videos. Like I wasn't doing nothing wrong. Mr. Garrett could tell you the PO I had before this lady. Like I don't even know why she's going to the extent that she going. She working for the same people right now that came in the house. Like
Okay. Look, we're gonna go ahead and hear from Ms. Freeberg now, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Freeberg.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for hearing from me. I've known Mr. Rowell and his family for the last few years, well, since he's been incarcerated, 19 months. He, you know, just on a guess more of a little bit of a personal note, Mr. Rowell is a very kind and gentle person. He is a quality human and someone, you know, I've been in this business for 28 years, you know, talking to Mr. Rowell about what was going on with him prior to this false arrest. He was doing really great. He was holding down, I believe, about 4 jobs. He had a job with the city of New Orleans as a tower and hall monitor. He was working for a construction company, Cycle Construction. He was also starting this LLC with his sister called Tasty Wagon LLC. And he's also a poet. He was performing poetry. He is a gentle and kind man. With regard to the problems about his address, I would submit to you that this is more of a paperwork issue, that his agent, Annie's son, knew very well that he had been staying with Felicia Bruno, that they were engaged. She had all of Miss Bruno's contact information and was very well aware, as Mr. Rowell has told you, that he was concerned that a guy he'd gotten into an accident with was, you know, knew the 4501 address and was coming by the house, and had told Miss Son, look, I'm just going to be staying with Felicia. So, and by the way, I apologies for not having the trial transcript. It is difficult to get in this quickly, and other cases are made priorities that are being gone up for direct appeal, which I'm sure you know, but I just wanted to say that. But all of these things came out at trial. And so I guess, you know, the jury and the judge did find him not guilty. And I understand that, you know, innocence and not guilty aren't necessarily the same thing. But I would submit to you that he is innocent. And I think everyone could see that, including the judge and the jury. You know, the fact that he, you know, it came out at trial that his car was clearly the last one parked there, that it wasn't there when they first passed by. They searched his car. They searched him. They did not find anything unlawful on him. And, you know, Miss Son at trial, you know, did say what a respectful person that Mr. Rowell was always to her, and in very good communication. You know, it wasn't, you know, this attempt to abscond or to hide or to not be available for the parole people. He was available within minutes. And so, you know, I guess, you know, I can go through how the evidence came out at trial, if you would like that. And if not, I can go ahead and close.
Yeah, we don't need the evidence. We'd like you to go ahead and close.
Okay, all right. And, you know, I just, you know, I've actually never appeared at a parole hearing before. And so I'm very pleased to be able to appear before you guys. But, you know, I have such, I don't say this lightly, but I have such full confidence that Mr. Rowell will continue to be an amazing parolee and a family man to these amazing women that have stood by him, and to his 11-year-old daughter, who he was just kind of getting back in the groove because of his home with Felicia. You know, she was spending almost every weekend with them, and he was taking her to school almost every day. And that has been, you know, obviously halted, and it's very emotional, you know, for this family. I'm just asking, you know, we think 19 months is sufficient, and we please ask that you place him back on parole.
Thank you.
I'm prepared to vote.
Right, Mrs. Ledoux.
Mr. Rowell, your charges, you were found not guilty by a jury. You've been down 19 months. You have, in my opinion, a stable plan going forward in terms of housing and support system. No other violations are before me. I think we've resolved those adequately. So my vote today is do not revoke.
Yes, ma'am. My vote today is the same, Mr. Rowell. You've been down 19 months and you were found not guilty at trial. So you know, and listening to you talk, I hope you're doing what you say, because you talk.
I'm really am, sir.
Okay, not to revoke today.
Okay, Mr. Rowell, and I do agree with my colleagues. My vote also today is do not revoke. So we're going to return you to supervision and wish you well. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for your participation today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.